In this lesson, we'll discuss inventory management for Class A and Class C items. So far, all of our modeling has been for those Class B items. We'll finish up the lesson with some practical concerns and challenges that you might face with managing inventory in real-world situations. So let's get started. So if on this slide, what we show is different types of actions and different types of things you might want to do for A items, B items, and C items. And as I said, everything we've discussed so far has been for these B items, right? Everything here, where we set a policy, we load those policies into an inventory management system, and we manage by exception. But let's go and see how these different policies for different items will be affected. So if I look at type of records, for A items, I'm going to have very detailed records, extensive transactional records, because each item matters. Moderate level of detail for the B items, and for the C items, I really don't need an individual transaction record for each paperclip that I use. You want to minimize that, because the whole idea here is you want to minimize the amount of time you spend on C items, keeping them under control still, but you don't want to spend all day on them. So then we look at the level of management reporting, and as you can guess, it'd be very high and frequent for those A items, moderate or infrequently for the B items, and then minimal for the C items. Interaction with demand is interesting, because for A items, we really want to focus on it, and we know that we can shape the demand. It's worth shaping the demand for those A items because they're driving the business. For B items, I can modify them a little bit. I can run promotions, I can think about those, and I can modify the forecast, but not nearly as much as I want to spend for the time as for those A items. And then for the C items, it's a simple forecast at best. The same type of interaction or action matters with the interaction with your supply and also how you'd handle shortages. So for A items, I want to actively manage. That's the critical word with my suppliers. I want to make sure I'm not going to stock out. I'll be proactive. For B items, you're going to manage by exception. Remember, all the models we've done have made a trade-off with stocking out and having inventory. And so you're trading off level of service and cost, because you know you're going to probably stock out. We saw how expensive it is to have 100% level of service, whether it's cycle service level or item fill rate. It might be worth it to do something for the A items, but for the B items, you're going to manage by exception. In the C, it's going to be minimal interaction with suppliers. You're not going to actively manage the supplier of your paper clips. And this mirrors how you manage your shortages. Actively manage and confront any shortage situation for A's. You set your service levels and manage by exception, everything we've done in the last several lectures for B items. And for C's, you kind of set and forget your service levels. You set it, you forget it, and you just periodically make sure it's not going out of control. So what policies would we use? Well, let's talk about those, but the general gist here is that we go from active for A items, automatic for B items, and very passive for C items. And so that translates into some different policies. Again, for the B items, we tend to have been using SQ policies, or order point, order quantity, or for periodic review, we use that order up to every R periods, that RS policy. Well, for A items, it might be worth spending time and money to develop more complicated min-max policies, the little s, big S policies, where when inventory position drops below little s, I order up to big S, and the same min-max policy for the periodic. For the C items, it's just the opposite. I want to spend less time. I'm not going to generally have a continuous review policy, again, for my C items, my paper clips, my small items that really, there are a lot of them, but they all aren't that important individually. So what are we going to do for the rest of the lesson? Well, we're going to focus in on A items, or for the A policies, look at fast and slow moving items there. We'll use a little bit of the Poisson distribution for demand. Then we'll focus in on Class C policies, those real slow movers, and then we'll finish up with some real world challenges and implications.